I'm so glad you are here today to hear the state of the county from our chairman, Billy Thurmond. A little bit about Billy, although he probably needs no introduction, but he is serving his second term as chairman of the Dawson County Board of Commissioners. Prior to being elected to office in 2016, he worked for Dawson County for 37 years, the last 14 years as the Director of Emergency Services. Billy is married to Lisa Thurmond, who, until her recent retirement, served as Dawson County's Chief Magistrate Judge. They have 2 sons and 2 wonderful daughter-in-laws. They are grandparents to 4 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. They are the joy of their lives. Billy is a member of the Kiwanis Club, and he and his wife are members of Zion Christian Assembly. Billy's vision for Dawson County is to make sure that anything we do as a board improves the quality of life for our citizens. Let's give a warm welcome to Chairman Billy Thurmond.
Y'all hear me without it? All right, we'll do that. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. Thank you, Mandy, for inviting me. Glad to see that I've got a couple of my comrades here. So any of the difficult questions you ask them.
Where's the bodyguard?
Yeah, bodyguard, yeah. So anyway, appreciate the opportunity to be with you, to be able to discuss what's going on in the county. Hopefully bring you up to date and answer any questions that you might have. Here's the areas of discussion that we'll talk about today. We'll talk about some of the transportation projects that are going on in the county. Then we'll talk about planning and development, probably one of our busiest departments. A little bit about some of the Squash 7 projects that we got started. And always a little bit about our finances, how we're doing there, and different funding options that we use to try to be able to maintain the quality of service that you're used to. Some current BOC projects, and then challenges that we have on a day-to-day basis, which I'm sure a lot of y'all have challenges, and so we'll talk a little bit about those, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. But you don't have to wait till the end, so if you want to ask me a question in reference to anything that I'm talking about, just feel free to go ahead and do so. Our transportation projects are broken down into 3 different categories. We have federal and state projects, we have local and state projects, and then we just have local projects. And on this list, which is kind of hard to see, you can see that when we talk about the state and we talk about the federal government, they give us a list of projects, you can see on this list, that go all the way out to 2031. That will not be my problem, I can guarantee you. That happens. Anyway, it's all the way out to 2031 because they set their calendar, and Chris can tell you, and Alessa can tell you, they don't make much changes to that calendar once they set that. So, in 2023, you'll see that the Chestee River Bridge on 136, that's already under construction. And some resurfacing projects that are going to go on from 52 Gilman County line to State Route 183, 136 from Pickens County line to 183, and then State Route 400 from 369 at Forsyth County to State Route 53. Those are the resurfacing projects that you'll see the state in conjunction with the passed down funds that come from the federal government that they're going to take care of in 2023 or starting in 2023. Government works slow, so we might be talking about the same thing next year. All right, local and state projects, we're going to be doing together with the state. Roundabout at Dawson Forest Road and Thompson Creek Park Road, if you remember, that was on last year's list. It still hasn't started, but we're getting there. We're making progress. Roundabout at Show Creek and 136. And then Blue Ridge Overlook, After Road, Nix Bridge Road, some widening and shoulder prep and things like that to do it again in 2023 as well. And we've been working to update signage at the schools for safety reasons, and so we continue to work on that as well. Some of the local projects, we're going to do a road realignment at 53 in Thompson Creek. And we've been working on the canoe put in and Elliott Road. We're doing some improvements and repaving there. And then, if you haven't heard, we're doing changing the things that we do, like at the transfer station, in reference to our recyclables. Right now, we're not really doing recycling. We're trying to work on, we had what was called single recycling, where everything went into the thing, but continued to be contaminated. Every time we would haul it, they wouldn't take it. It would be contaminated. So not only were we paid, we were basically paid twice for the same load. So it was contaminated, then we had to pay for basically a fine for that, and then we had to pay to get rid of it. So we had to pay twice. So what we're doing now is we're in the process of working to where when you go and do recycling, we put plastic, all the different things in different bins. And so we're working on that. It's coming along. And so we hope to get there real soon, because I know people are very much interested in recycling, and we want to be able to provide that opportunity for people to be able to do. And of course, we're doing some improvements at Veterans Memorial Park, some turf fields. And you might wonder, well, why is that on transportation? Well, Public Works does a lot of our engineering and looking at things for us, so that's the reason you'll see those listed on their list as well. And we'll see those again in a minute. Planning and Development, probably the busiest department in the whole county, right in line with Public Works. In 2022, you'll see the business license renewals. It's 1,482. New issue, 229. So a lot of new business in the county. Commercial building permits were 158. New commercial structure permits was 15. And then sign permits, residential building permits, and then single family units, zonings, and then something new that we passed an ordinance in reference to short-term rentals. And so we've had 81 applications last year of short-term rentals. Commercial projects that went on in 2022. This is a pretty substantial list. I think I saw some of those pop up on your screen whenever y'all were running through the new businesses and stuff like that. So we're always excited for new commercial businesses. Helps our tax base. Doesn't tax our service delivery anywhere near like residential does. So we're always, happy to see new business. Now, some of these businesses move, obviously, from one location to another, and our planning department would deal with that when they move. So some of these have been around, but some of them are remodels, some of them are brand new businesses, some of them are location changes, but they dealt with a lot of commercial projects in 2022. This is our active development for residential. Now, I will say in reference to residential projects and development that's going on, some of these have been in the hopper now for a while. Some of these, as we talked about a few minutes ago, you've seen me talk about last year, you saw me talk about the year before, and you may see me talk about it next year. Because it takes that long sometimes for some of these to work all the way through. Some of these have been out there, 2018, 2019, and they're all over the place and how far along they actually are. Some of them just now digging some dirt. Some of them are about 25% built out. Some of them are 25% built out, another 25% that they're working on, the 50% that they'll do some other time. So they're all over the gamut when you look at the active residential projects that are going on in the county. Here's some of the planned projects that have come through the planning department. And it's good to see that long list is commercial. Outback Steakhouse, Taco Bell is well on its way, Whataburger, medical building, church, more medical offices, Wells Fargo, Anderson Medical Expansion, where Dr. Anderson's office is, and some other house parcels at the Kroger Shopping Center, more medical office buildings, and more medical office buildings. So we should be helping. Hopefully we can find the doctor that we need. And one of the things, and that's good, because one of the things that I talked to the CEO of Northeast Georgia Medical Center when she visited last year or a couple of years ago is the ability for our citizens to be able to go to the doctor they need, especially the specialists here. They didn't have to go to Gainesville. They didn't have to go to Atlanta. They didn't have to go to Forsyth County. We want those people here so that you can make whatever kind of office visit you need and not have to go somewhere else to do it. So they worked real hard on that. I know the medical center is working on their level 1 trauma designation, and now they're a teaching hospital, and all those things are starting to come to fruition, which is very good for our county as well. And the residential projects that are being planned, you see there off Lee Castleberry, Chesapeake, East Harbor, and Grandview. Splash 7, the sales tax, which a lot of y'all help us generate with the businesses that you have, is critical to our service delivery capability to the citizens here. And so we have several projects on our Splash 7 list. Currently on this list, we're working on the level 2 projects at the top, which is our EOC 911 center and a new radio system, which is desperately needed for our public safety people. We had to generate that revenue before we actually get a lot going on that, which we've done. I think in the first year of Splash 7, we generated over $10 million off of that penny, so that's good. And so we're well on our way. We're waiting on some bids to come back on that. The board will see that before too much longer. We're also doing a few, like I said, we talked about those projects at Veterans Park. They're also part of Splash and impact fees. So those things have started. And then we will work through over the next until we get all those done. And once again, thanks to every citizen who voted for that. Thanks to the chamber for helping us get that passed. Because it's critical. I mean, we need that, and those type of things allow the board to continue to look at the millage rate and to lower that millage rate. We were able to do that again this past year. For the 4th year in a row, we've been able to lower the millage rate. So all of these alternative funding sources are critical for that. And as you know, when it comes to sales tax, a lot of that comes from people who come and buy, and then they go back home. And so it's the best of both worlds. Finances. This will show you what our 2023 general fund budget is, and also the total for all fund budgets. General fund budget, $37,292,621. And all funds, which covers everything from different types of things that go on in the county. But the general fund is the day-to-day operational budget. That's where your property tax money goes. That's where the local option sales tax money goes, and to run the day-to-day operation. Here are where the revenue comes from for the general fund. Property taxes, as you can see, from 22 to 23. And you can see local option sales tax and other taxes. Other taxes include like insurance premium tax and things along those lines. Government revenues, fines and forfeitures. That tallies up to that $37 million. Here are your revenue sources. Property tax is 38% of the revenue generated. Lost is 28%. Other taxes 14%. And then we always put in some use of fund balance when it comes to the budget. But I'm proud to say for the past 6 years, we've not used any fund balance. We've always been able to end the year not having used any of that. And that's a credit to the staff and the elected officials who do a very good job of managing their budgets and not overspending. Doing what they need to do to provide the quality of service that you need, but not overspending. And this year, I was talking to Vicki the other day, our finance director, and we'll add $1 million to the fund balance after 2022.
That's good.
These are where the money goes. General government, judicial. You'll see that the sheriff's office is the #1 area that we spend money. Obviously, it's the largest department in the county by far as far as personnel. And then public safety, fire, EMS, emergency management, second. And then, of course, then you've got general government and judicial are the other top 4. It's just a pie chart showing you that where those percentages go of the revenue. Of expenditures. One of the things that I'm always proud to be able to tell people is the grants. One of the things that we talked about a lot when I first became the chairman with the staff was if there's a grant out there that goes along with what you're doing, and we're going to have to do that anyway, let's try to get some grant money to help fund that. Well, and you see right here, in 2023, we're expecting $2.2 million in grant at a matching cost of $757,000. So that's a pretty good return. That's 66% of that would be grant funded and 34% would be matched. So that's a pretty good return. That's 3 to 1. So that's a good reason to continue to get grants. As you well know, the state and federal government don't give that money to somebody, and so I want to give it back to us. It's your money. It's your money, and they're going to spend it. So if you're sending it to them, so we want them to send it back, so it can be used here. Here are the funding options, obviously, that we have as a county: property tax, impact fees, SPLOSH, which started in July, and then grant funding, and obviously local option sales tax, which is not up there, is obviously one of the other funding options, and other fees, charges for services that help pay for what the citizens need. We're always looking for other funding options. We're continue to look for ways to lower your property tax obligations, so these other funding options help us do that on reference to your property tax. Some of the current projects that we've got going on, our future land use plan updates. We're trying to match up we want to make sure that our land use plan, especially our future land use plan, shows everything that's already been adopted. We want to make sure that when you're looking at that plan, it's an up-to-date plan. So we're working on making sure that happens. Ordinances updates. One of the things that we're currently doing, and the board will look at our next meeting on the 19th, we're making some code changes within our zoning ordinances to help us with maintaining, to work to keep growth under control. It's easier for us to look at those code changes than it is to try to change the zoning classification. The state has a lot to do with the zoning classification, so you can't just go in and start making a bunch of changes. But you can change within your zoning. When we talk about code changes, you think of things like setbacks. You think of things like driveway widths and lengths, sidewalks, things like that right there, that we actually have the power and the ability to do, which will allow us the ability to maintain some better control. Our service delivery strategy, obviously we want to provide the highest quality of service to the citizens as we possibly can within budgetary constraints. And then one of the things that we're going to ask the citizens to do again, hopefully you'll be willing to support, is transportation SPLOSH. We want to try to get that penny passed so that we can get all the necessary road projects done that need to be done in the county. So we're going to be working on that in 2023. and looking to take that vote at the same time the city's doing their elections. Challenges, probably not much different than some of the businesses that you own. Obviously, labor force is always a challenge. Very proud of the board. This past year, we've really addressed our employees and how we maintain a quality workforce. Most of the increase you saw in reference to the budget was toward our employees. And so one of the things that the board adopted at our last meeting was a merit-based pay system. So when our employees are excellent, we're going to pay them because they're excellent, and not just pay everybody the same thing as far as a raise is concerned. And another thing that the board added to the policy was longevity. So those people who've been with us a very long time, done a very good job, they're going to get paid for that. So we can hang on to those people and keep going forward. As a business person, you know and understand how expensive it is to hire and train employees and to maintain that quality workforce. Growth management, we've already talked about that a little bit, some of the things the board's doing to try to manage that effectively the best we can. And obviously, economic diversity, we're always looking to diversify our economy, you know, working with the chamber, working with the development authority in reference to technology-based businesses and things like that right there. Everyone knows that we're retail-based primarily, but we're looking to diversify that, offer, hopefully get some businesses like that right there that offer better paying jobs for our citizens so they don't have to actually leave the county to get a higher paying job. And with that, I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
So with property tax being one of the greatest contributors to the budget, how do you factor in all the new residential to the budget, whether it's 2023 or 2024?
Well, obviously, our tax assessor's office, they value new residents just like they do all the old ones every time something's new. So that's factored in and added into the revenue. That's one of the reasons that we've been able to lower the millage rate too, is because you see the property tax dollar amount go up. Some of that's due to obviously new business, new residents that are now paying their share as well.
We also have impact fees, so any new resident that comes online in Dawson County, there's a formula that's generated outside of us that says what the cost expense of that new resident coming online is, and that's an impact fee that's charged on the front.
And one of the things that the board commissioned a year or two ago, we commissioned a study to see what a new residence was costing us when it comes to service delivery versus the commercial business was costing us. And it was what, $1.04, and then 72 or 3 for commercial, I believe it was. So basically, every new residence is a little bit more than, you don't break even. We are doing really well when it comes to commercial because they don't require near the service delivery. And what makes that almost look like a break even in reference to the residential is the sales tax. And so during the study, they brought that out, that our sales tax was phenomenal compared to most places. And it is, because as I travel around and go to different functions and have other commissioners, they always talk about wanting to trade places, and I'm going, no. We don't want to trade. So we want to keep what we have.
If they eliminate the income tax, the state income tax, how will that affect, as they're talking about, community store and things, sales tax, how does that affect the local taxes? That ends up happening.
As far as the sales tax that we currently have, it won't change that. Now, obviously, instead of paying an income tax to the state of Georgia, then that would be gathered through however many pennies they're going to add. So right now, you're currently looking at a 7% sales tax, and the state gets 4 of that now. And so if they eliminate that, let's say they change it to 7 cents, then you would have a 10-cent sales tax.
Is the $5 transportation tax still in play, in addition to the hotel motel tax? Several years ago, when the state put that into play strictly for transportation purposes, that was an additional $5 per night on the hotel motel tax. But it was a fee, it was
Yeah.
a tax.
I'm not sure, Chris, you know?
No, that might have been tied part of the T-Splosh package that failed at the state level, and then it got disseminated down to each local level to be re-voted on. So I'm not sure if that's in play or not. I don't think it is. If it is, the money goes to the state, not to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Given the cost of housing, and we've got a lot of retail and restaurant workers, and they can't afford the skyrocketing home costs. Of all the apartments and the multifamily that we're seeing go in, is any of that being set aside for lower income folks that can't necessarily buy someplace and the rents are too high?
I know the Peaks of Dawsonville, which is right there on 53, what behind used to be the Crystal, that group of apartments there is, because that's a work-related group of apartments where you actually have to have a job that you're working, and that group is, I know. But as far as, and there are some other government subsidized housing in the county that I know some of those are subsidized by the government, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them are, I guess you would say, upper end, high dollar apartments that you can probably own a house cheaper than you can live in the apartment.
So the entirety of what's going on behind what used to be the Crystal is going to be low income housing?
It's going to be, yeah, it's work-based housing is what they call it.
It's not the Section 8 that people are familiar with. I think it's called Section 13.
Right.
And what Section 13 does is it's a subsidized based on what your income level is. So you have to show proof of work. You have to do some finance classes. But the whole premise of putting it there is because, to your point, a lot of those workers that we have in those retail industries where it's geographically located allows them to commute to those jobs that are in that area. But it's not just free housing. They do need to show some work history and some effort towards, ultimately they're not there forever. Ultimately they're benefiting themselves and getting into a different position in life, but that's a good program for them to start out with.
Which I think is also Farmington off Perimeter Road, correct? Similar?
The one on Perimeter Road is the same setup, which is in the city limits, and then the Farmington that is out, or I don't think it's Farmington, the one on 53 across from Tractor Supply, it's a age-restricted deal, but it's got some of the same principles to it.
But there are a few of them in the community.
Tony?
Billy, can you give us an update on the discussions between the Corps of Engineer and Parks and Rec about taking over some of the landing sites in the county?
I know our, kind of assigned that to our Park and Recreation Director to meet with them and to bring us back information. I figure we'll hear from him pretty soon because I think they've met a couple of times, and so we're waiting to hear back from him. Yes, ma'am.
Billy, with the opening of Northeast Georgia Medical Center at the top of 400 in 2024, are there plans to expand EMT and ambulance service for the community to coincide with opening of that facility?
Well, we look at the volume, the call volume and everything that we have, and we will make those expansions as they're needed. And so our chief, fire chief and stuff, he'll stay in contact with us and let us know when we need to add another ambulance. We currently run 4, and so when we get to the point where we need 5, then we'll run 5. Got a shorter route from the hospital, yeah. For that particular thing, yeah.
Increase the speed limit.
Any other questions? Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we work very closely with the county, and they're always so open to the chamber and the citizens. So I hope y'all feel very blessed to be in a community where they are so accessible and can answer questions and are really involved. I know that is not typical in all communities, but we're very lucky here in Dawson County that is the case. Well, I would like to give a few thank yous before I let you head out. Hopefully you can get to where you're going before all this bad weather is coming in. Everyone's getting tornado watches on their phones. But first I would like to thank our Retired Teachers Association. If y'all noticed at the end of last year, they've helped with our luncheons, but they are here again this year, and they do just such a fantastic job for the chamber and for our community. So thank you. Because I feel like she's been here forever, but she was not here at our last luncheon. But Anna Griffin, she has joined the chamber team and has hit the ground running. She is our director of marketing and events, so you will be hearing from her a good bit, and she's such a great asset to the chamber team, and we're happy to have her here. So if you haven't met her, come do that. And then, of course, our business luncheon sponsor, Medical Plaza 400. They're such great partners of ours, and we could not do this without them. And thank you to Billy for taking time to come out and address everyone. He'll be around for a few minutes if y'all have any questions you didn't want to address with the crowd. But I think you will find that he is accessible anytime that you have anything come up. So, all right, y'all be safe out there. Please let us know if there's anything we can do. Buy your gala tickets early. It's going to be a good time, and we'll see y'all soon.